Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a scenario that I think is going to sound, well, painfully familiar to a lot of you listening,
Okay.
especially if you're in marketing or you're an entrepreneur or you just spend way, way too much time staring at analytics dashboards.
It's the scenario that keeps business owners up at night.
Absolutely. So picture this. You've built the perfect product. You've spent weeks, maybe months, optimizing your ads. The targeting is laser focused. The copy is great.
Hmm.
Traffic is flowing in beautifully. People are clicking. But then, nothing. Or at least not the sound you want to hear. The sales just aren't matching the hype.
It's that classic optimization trap. You've optimized for acquisition, you've brought the horses to water,
Yeah.
but you can't make them drink.
Exactly. It's what we call the conversion gap. And usually when this happens, the knee-jerk reaction is, panic.
Right.
We scramble to change the price, we rewrite the headline, or we blame the algorithm, which is everyone's favorite scapegoat. But the research we're looking at today suggests the problem might not be what you're selling or even how much you're charging for it.
No. The research points to the format, the way you're trying to sell it.
And that's where we're going today. We're diving into the world of live streaming e-commerce. And before you roll your eyes and hit skip.
Right. Before anyone tunes out thinking this is just about Zoom calls that should have been emails or gamers screaming at their monitors,
Yeah.
we should probably clarify what we actually mean here.
This isn't just video. This is a fundamental structural shift in how commerce is happening online. We're looking at platforms like Instagram Live, TikTok Shop, Amazon Live.
And of course, the absolute behemoth, which is Taobao Live in China.
Right.
The sources are really clear on this distinction. It's a move from what they call independent browsing, which is the standard e-commerce model, to participatory shopping.
That phrase, participatory shopping, that really jumped out at me in the reading. It feels like the anchor for this whole deep dive.
It is. And to understand why it matters, you have to look at why the static web page, the thing we've all relied on for, 25 years, is starting to fail at high-level conversion.
Okay, let's unpack that. The independent browsing model. When you describe it, it sounds a little lonely.
Well, the source material actually calls it the era of the lonely shopper.
The lonely shopper.
Yeah, think about the physical experience. You're usually sitting alone. Maybe it's 2 in the afternoon at your desk. Maybe it's 11 at night on the couch. You're scrolling. You see a jacket. You look at a static image. You read a block of text.
And then the questions start bubbling up. Is this going to be tight in the shoulders? Or is that red actually cherry red? Or is it more of a burnt orange that's going to wash me out?
Exactly. And in that traditional model, who do you ask?
No one. You're just talking to a screen.
You're totally isolated. You might scroll down to the reviews, but those are historical data. They're from 3 months ago. Maybe the manufacturing changed. Maybe that person has a completely different body type. You're basically guessing.
And guessing is uncomfortable.
In sales psychology, guessing is fatal. The moment a customer has to guess, hesitation creeps in. And online, hesitation is just one click away from abandoning the cart.
Right.
The source calls this the information persuasion gap.
I like that.
Static pages are great at offering information. They give you specs, dimensions, materials, but they totally lack real-time persuasion. You're presenting facts, but you aren't there to reassure the actual human being on the other side.
Okay, so enter the live stream. How does this experience actually bridge that gap? Because on the surface, it just looks like PVC on an iPhone.
It's fundamentally different because it closes the feedback loop instantly. In a live stream, instead of browsing passively, you are actively participating. If you wonder about the jacket fit,
You just ask in the chat,
you type in the chat, "Hey, can you lift your arm? I want to see how the shoulder moves."
and the host, if they're any good, does it right then and there.
Instantly. They see the comment, they lift their arm, they pull on the fabric. They might even bring it close to the camera so you can see the texture.
That is a massive difference. You go from, I hope this fits, to, I see that it fits.
Precisely. You replace a static assumption with dynamic validation. Instead of guessing, you ask. Instead of being alone, you are part of a crowd watching others buy. It transforms the experience from a static transaction into a dynamic social interaction.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, the numbers. Because we can talk about feelings and connection all day, but the data in our sources is just, it's bonkers. We have to talk about Taobao Live.
The Taobao stats are the ones that make every marketer just stop in their tracks. Alibaba reported that Taobao Live achieved a conversion rate of 32%.
32%. I just want to pause on that. If you're running a regular e-commerce store, a Shopify site, whatever, you're probably throwing a party if you hit a 3% conversion rate.
Oh, if you hit 3% on cold traffic, you are a genius. 32% is a completely different galaxy.
It sounds like a typo.
It really does. But the source breaks it down. For every 1 million viewers on a live stream, something like 320,000 items get added to shopping carts. That's not just an improvement, that's a structural change in, like, business physics.
And the financial scale is just as staggering. We're looking at Alibaba generating $61.7 billion in gross merchandise value just through live streaming in 2020 alone.
And the projections were that by 2023, live streaming would make up over 60% of all social commerce sales in China. We're talking about nearly $281 billion.
Okay, but I can hear the skeptics listening right now. They're thinking, okay, that's China. It's a mobile-first culture. Everything's integrated. Does that really apply to the US or Europe where everything's a bit more fragmented?
It's a fair question, but the data suggests the West is just earlier on the exact same curve. The Harris poll that was in our source notes that 31% of U.S. adults have watched a shopping live stream.
But only about 7% have actually bought something, right?
Correct. But that gap between the 31% watching and the 7% buying, that doesn't show a lack of interest. It represents what we call early-stage market development.
So the infrastructure just wasn't quite there yet.
Exactly. Entering your credit card was clunky, or you had to leave the app to go buy it. But look at TikTok Shop now. Look at Amazon Live. That friction is disappearing. Markets mature. Behavior follows exposure. If China is the preview, the U.S. is just in the opening credits.
So the potential is clearly there. But let's dig into the why. Why does watching a video of someone selling lipstick make us 32% more likely to buy it than seeing a perfect photo of that same lipstick?
It really comes down to three core psychological triggers that static pages simply cannot activate. The first one is urgency. But I want to be clear, not fake urgency.
All right, not those annoying countdown timers that say offer ends in 5 minutes and then you refresh the page and it resets. We all know those are lies.
We've all become blind to those. Live stream urgency is structural. It is a time-bound event. If a host announces a special bundle or a limited inventory drop, you know that when that stream ends, the opportunity might actually vanish.
It kills that I'll think about it delay.
Completely. We saw this with the Maybelline example. They sold 10,000 lipsticks in 2 hours during one live stream. Or Estee Lauder, generating roughly $300 million on Singles Day. You can't move that kind of volume that quickly without a huge sense of momentum.
It's the difference between this is available whenever and this is happening right now.
Exactly. And that momentum feeds directly into the second psychological trigger, social proof, or what the source calls the crowd effect.
Oh, I love this concept. It's the empty restaurant theory.
It is. You walk past a restaurant and it's totally empty, you assume the food's bad. If there's a line out the door, you assume it must be amazing.
And a traditional e-commerce page is basically an empty restaurant.
It is. You're the only person there. You can't see any of the other shoppers. But in a live stream, you see the comments flying by. You see the user 123 just purchased notifications pop up. You see people getting excited.
It creates this collective confidence. If I see 50 other people buying this skincare set right now, my brain just assumes it's a safe bet.
Humans are herd animals. We respond to shared behavior. When that participation becomes visible, the perceived value of the product just skyrockets. It validates your decision in real time. A live stream basically compresses weeks of accumulated reviews into one high-energy event.
And then there's the element of trust. We touched on this, but it feels crucial. A static page is polished, it's photoshopped, it's copy edited to death.
It's curated. And consumers today, especially younger consumers, are so skeptical of that curation. Live streams, by their very nature, are unscripted, or at least they feel that way. You hear the tone of voice, you see the facial expressions.
If the host drops the product, they just pick it up and laugh about it.
Exactly. And that little bit of authenticity builds so much trust. In a crowded market, trust is often the only deciding factor. The source notes that live streaming just shortens the trust-building cycle. Instead of needing to see your brand 7 times to trust you, I might watch you for 10 minutes, see you answer a tough question honestly, and I'm sold.
Speaking of answering tough questions, let's talk about what the source calls the killer feature. And it isn't the video quality or the influencer, it's the real-time Q&A.
This is the operational superpower of live streaming. We know that cart abandonment usually comes from uncertainty. Will this work with my specific device? Is this fabric machine washable?
Right. And usually if you can't find the answer in the FAQ, you're gone. You just leave.
Gone. But in a live stream, you have what we call objection suppression. The host is answering those personalized questions instantly.
Oh, I've seen this happen.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat will ask, can you show the inside lining of that bag? It looks cheap in the photo.
And that's a moment of truth. On a website, that customer bounces. In a live stream, the host unzips the bag, shoves the camera right inside, pulls on the lining, and says, "Great question. Look at this double stitching. Listen to the sound of the fabric."
They turn the objection into a feature showcase.
Precisely. They pivoted a potential negative into a positive live in real time.
Yeah.
The source puts it so well. The faster doubt is resolved, the faster confidence forms. You're removing the friction from the buying process in a way an FAQ page never, ever could.
So we have urgency, social proof, trust, and real-time objection handling. I mean, it sounds like a magic bullet. But I do want to play devil's advocate for a second.
Please do.
I know there are listeners thinking, okay, but I'm not a giant brand like Alibaba or Estee Lauder. I don't have a studio. I'm not an influencer with 1 million followers. I can't do this.
And that is probably the biggest misconception. The source is very clear on this. Size doesn't matter.
Really? Because it feels like a volume game.
It's not about having 1 million viewers. It's about the conversion rate. A small, highly engaged audience is actually way more valuable than a huge passive one. If you have 100 people watching, just 100, but they are your core customers and you're answering their specific questions, you can drive incredible revenue.
So you don't need to be some influencer with a blue check mark to make this work.
Not at all. In fact, sometimes the smaller, more intimate streams have even higher trust because that interaction is so much more direct. The host can actually read every single comment. If you have 50,000 viewers, the chat's a blur. If you have 50, you can say, "Hey, Sarah, thanks for asking about the shipping."
That personal acknowledgement is gold.
It creates a bond. A massive broadcast just can't match.
What about the type of business? We keep talking about products like lipstick and handbags. What if you sell services? What if you're a consultant or an educator?
The psychology applies in the exact same way. The source explicitly mentions service businesses. You can use live streaming for live audits, for Q&A sessions, for educational presentations.
So if I'm an accountant, I could do a tax season panic room live stream.
I love that title, Tax Season Panic Room. Absolutely. Imagine an accountant going live and saying, "Ask me your weirdest deduction questions."
That would build massive authority.
Huge authority. If you can answer complex tax questions live, off the cuff, you are demonstrating expertise in a way that a blog post about top 10 tax tips never could. A blog post can be ghostwritten. A live stream is you. You're selling your expertise.
That makes total sense. Another thing I hear is the discount trap. People think, oh, live streaming just means I have to slash my prices by 50% to get people to buy.
And that is a myth we really need to bust. While yes, limited time offers help with that urgency, the source emphasizes that clarity and trust often convert much better than price cuts. People aren't buying just because it's cheap. They're buying because they finally understand the product and they trust the seller.
So don't bankrupt yourself just to get views.
Exactly. Focus on the demonstration and the interaction. Show the value. Don't just drop the price.
Now, here's a practical question. Does this mean we should fire our web developers and delete our websites? Is the product page officially dead?
No, and this is a really important distinction. We're talking about symbiosis, not replacement.
So how do they work together?
Think of the live stream as the engine. It's for momentum and persuasion. It's where the excitement happens. It's where the emotional decision is made.
Okay.
But the product page, that is the infrastructure for the transaction.
So the live stream gets them to say yes, and the product page is where they actually swipe the credit card.
Exactly. The product page provides the structure, the shipping info, the checkout security, the order history. They form a conversion system. You need the reliability of the static page to support the energy and excitement of the live event.
It's a 1-2 punch.
It is. And the brands that get this right aren't choosing one or the other. They are integrating them. They're embedding live streams onto their product pages. So you land on the site, and boom, there's a little bubble playing a video of someone using the product right now.
It keeps you right there in their ecosystem.
Exactly.
So let's bring this all back for the listener. We've covered a lot of ground, from the conversion gap to those 32% rates on Taobao and the psychology behind it all. If you had to distill this down to a single key takeaway, what would it be?
I think the summary is this.
Yeah.
Low conversion is rarely just a traffic problem. It's almost always an engagement problem. We've been trying to sell to people by treating them like isolated data points, not like humans who want connection and reassurance.
We've automated the humanity right out of the process, and now we're wondering why people aren't buying.
Exactly. Live streaming puts the humanity back in, but at scale. It activates urgency, it builds trust through authenticity, and removes all those nagging objections in real time.
And so if you're listening, the takeaway isn't just live streaming is cool. I mean, the data proves it works. The real question you need to ask yourself is, are you building a strategy around it? Because the entire market is moving from isolation to interaction. It really feels like we're at a turning point. And that brings me to the thought I kind of want to leave everyone with today. We talked about how lonely the traditional e-commerce experience is.
Right.
So if digital commerce is truly evolving from isolation to interaction, does that suggest that in the future, and maybe not even the distant future, any digital experience that lacks a real-time human component is going to be seen as broken or untrustworthy by consumers?
That's a profound thought.
Hmm.
Will we look at a static website in 5 years the same way we look at a fax machine today? Like, why can't I talk to anyone here? Is this business even open?
If I can't talk to you, why should I trust you?
Precisely.
Something to mull over before you launch that next static landing page. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.